Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Ironically Serious. It's your host, Taylor Hedden, and today I am joining you with something on my face that has never happened to me. It has never even been a potential thought that I ever thought would occur, a reality that I have never experienced. If you're watching the video on YouTube, check out take these glasses off. Check out my fucking black eye. How badass do I look right now? I either look like I'm a domestic violence victim or I look like the toughest, baddest bitch ever. And it's a close call. I think people will probably assume my husband beats me when we go on our trip this weekend, but I have a giant black eye. We're about 15 hours into the black eye. I can't decide if I look terrible or if I look fucking awesome. See, here's what happened. Many of you know that I recently started training Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. We are about 2 months into my white belt journey. It's hard. It's awesome. It's intoxicating. It's amazing. It's difficult. It's fun. It's scary, nerve wracking. It's every possible adjective I could describe about a sport, about a hobby. I told you guys I wanted to start my jujitsu journey because I wanted to learn self defense. I wanted to try something new that would require me to push myself in different ways than I'm used to, physically, mentally, emotionally. I mentioned to many of you that I mentioned to you guys that I'm also a huge UFC fan. We've been following UFC and mixed martial arts in our household for quite some time, and my son started training jiu-jitsu last summer. And I finally decided to do it. I finally decided to join the dojo. We're about 2 months in. I've been training about 4 days a week. And I'll tell you what, starting a martial art as a 29-year-old woman with no previous background of martial arts whatsoever, or fighting or anything, even as someone who has literally never been an aggressive person, I'm not confrontational. I've never been in a fight. I've never even laid my hands on someone or instigated an altercation at all. I'm just very, when it comes to arguments or fights or disagreements, I'm very neutral. I like to be calm. I like to find a solution. I'm also bad at internalizing. So if there's an argument, I would much rather just shut the fuck up and call it a day than get into an argument. And so getting into Brazilian Jiu Jitsu has really turned me into a little tough cookie. I have realized I've got a lot of aggression in there, even just in our rolling at training. If you're not familiar with Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, during a class, you essentially drill a move for 20 or so minutes with your partner. Everyone's in the class, and the coach or professor, instructor, or whatever you want to call it, shows you a move. You drill the move back and forth with your partner, and then you roll or you grapple with different people. Every gym's different. It just depends on the amount of time. We do 5-minute rolls, 3 to 4 a class. And I have realized I love it. I love getting dirty. I wouldn't say beating someone up because it's not what you're doing. I love being aggressive. I want to wrap my legs around someone's neck and squeeze as hard as I can. I don't know where she's coming from. I don't know what's gotten into me, but there's something so satisfying about rolling with someone and being able to use a technique and submit them or hold them down, or even in the defensive, be able to get out of it or to not allow them to take me out or submit me, and I'm able to just ride it out. It's so intoxicating and addicting, and it has really helped me be a little tough, be a little bit more, just have a little grit to me that I never had before, a little confidence in that arena. And I have been poking the bear with my husband. You see, if you don't know my husband, Joshua, or Josh as we call him, he's a pretty strong guy. If you've ever seen him, he looks like he would either be a veteran or in a motorcycle gang. He's bald. He has a big beard. Well, right now he has a big mustache. He actually lost a bet and had to shave his beard off, which he had been growing for over a year, and it was huge. I mean, anytime we'd go anywhere, men complimenting his beard every 5 seconds. He's basically a walking ad for beard oil, which he uses the Duke Cannon products. Everyone everywhere, women, men, kids, we love your beard, we love your beard. However, he was coaching my daughter's fifth and sixth grade basketball team this past season, and they were kind of sucking. So at one game, he essentially made a bet with them that if they won the game, he would shave his beard off, and they did win, and he did shave his beard off into handlebar mustache, which I highly requested because I think a handlebar on a sexy man is just something, there's something about it. Funny enough, too, we actually recorded a video of him shaving it off and it went viral on Instagram. I think it has like 500,000 views right now. Insane. Anyways, he's got a beard or a mustache at times. He's bald, he's muscular, he's tatted everywhere, he's super tan, and he's pretty freaking strong. Even though he doesn't train in martial arts, he is someone who can literally watch a YouTube video and he just retains information immediately. He watches a lot of UFC, and not just UFC, but he will be the kind of person that leading up to a UFC event, he's watching all of the UFC pre-event videos and documentary style storytelling on the fighters. He watches UFC from the past. He'll just like randomly, I'll walk into the living room and he's watching old UFC tape. He follows a lot of fighters on Instagram. He listens to pretty much every Joe Rogan episode, even his MMA episodes where he brings on fighters and talks with them. And he actually knows a lot about jiu-jitsu. When I started training in jiu-jitsu, he sent me different podcasts like Gordon Ryan and John Donaher and was telling me who I should look up and what I should be learning about. And again, he doesn't train, but the dude has watched enough UFC to know how to, submit someone with an arm bar. He knows how to get into side control. It's very crazy. And so being the little aggressive lady that I have become, I want to roll him when I get home. I want to fight my husband in the best way possible. It's so fun. Partially because I want to see if I can beat him. And I'm sure, maybe a year after training, I'll be able to finally beat him. But I also just think that it's exciting, instead of sitting and, I don't know, watching TV together, I'm like, let's wrestle. It's awesome. We don't have a mat. So we'll just be sitting on our bed, which is a king size, and I'll just start wrestling him. It's probably not even fair because I don't give him a warning. I just wrap my legs around him and we start going down. Last night, after a couple of drinks, I was definitely feeling good, and we had some sushi, basically not in any capacity to roll or to do anything physical. I was full of sushi and full of bourbon. My stomach was on its way to World War III. And I had this bright idea that I wanted to wrestle. I'm sitting there, we're in our room, we're with my son. And my son now that he's been training for almost a year, he likes to egg me on. He was like, Mommy, you want to roll? I can choke you out. Mind you, he's 5. I could literally squeeze him with my fingers and make him tap out. But I like to roll with him and just have fun and work on moves together and be silly. So last night we're all sitting there. Me and Josh start rolling after me and Bub had been rolling a little bit. And things were getting a little aggressive. I should speak for me. I was really putting my effort in. I really believed that I was about to choke him out or do some kind of arm bar and just completely annihilate him, which was not the case. We're rolling. All of a sudden, he goes for an arm bar, which, again, if you're not familiar, you grab the other person's arm, and so your feet kind of go towards where their head is, and his ankle just smacked me in the eye socket so hard. I immediately was like, stop, stop, stop. And I started crying, got up, instant, just red, purple, puffed up. Thank God it did not bleed or break the skin. And at that very moment, I realized I am the biggest pansy because I was done. I don't know how fighters, strikers, boxers, mixed martial artists, I don't get it. You get hit once, I'm down. I was done. I was like, I am so done. He felt bad, obviously. He felt terrible. Threw some ice on it, and here we are 12 hours later with the biggest black eye. Again, never had a black eye in my life. I feel like a total badass. I want to go walk around and just look at people and be like, fuck with me. Just fuck with me. However, it does look pretty bad. We leave on a trip this Thursday. We're actually going to Fitch, Fitch or Fritch. I don't really know what it's called. It's right outside of Amarillo, Texas, up in the Panhandle. We're driving there, Josh and I, for 10 hours to his 50-mile race that he's doing. It's an ultra marathon that he's doing this weekend. And we're driving up there, and it's just going to be him and I. And I can guarantee you, wherever we stop, because we're going to be stopping for food. And then once we get there, we'll obviously be at the race. I'll be setting up our aid station, and I 100% believe people will probably think that he beats me. That is not the case, but the story is cool. I didn't train today and don't intend to train because I'm very, very scared that someone's going to hit it because I have a photo shoot next week. So, of course, the 1 week that I plan the biggest photo shoot of the year, which I have not planned a photo shoot for my brand in over a year. If you know me, I love doing photo shoots for my brand. I use my photos for content, website, Chanel and Lee, podcast stuff. It's been about a year and a half since I've done a shoot, maybe even longer. Actually longer, yeah, because it was before my wedding. I haven't done a shoot in so long. And the week before the shoot, I would get this giant black eye. I mean, purple, just so swollen. This morning I woke up and I could barely open my eye because it was so swollen. So send all the tips. I'm releasing this episode on a Friday. My shoot is on Wednesday, so in just a couple of days. And we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm hoping that the incredible makeup artist that I hired, also spent a lot of money on, can hide any residual bruising. And I will be putting an ice pack on this baby for the next week. Someone also said arnica is good. It's like a gel. It's a gel. It's a gel. The gel, put a nail on a gel. My family always laughs because I like to be a little Chinese lady and say, what do you like, a dip or a gel or a powder? Anyways, I'm going to put some arnica on it. Apparently, it's what doctors recommend when you get plastic surgery on your face. So we're going to see how it works. In the meantime, I'm just going to pretend like I am the biggest badass on the block.
Hello.
Hi.
So,
Not much, just in the middle of a podcast.
oh, sorry, let me get off.
No, I was just seeing if you need anything. I'm just recording before I have to go get Bub.
No, I'm just stopping at Lucky's right now. Get gas and see if you want anything.
Ooh, yeah,
If you did, what specifically?
you get me some of those chocolate covered beaver nuggets.
Okay.
Yeah. I love you.
How's the eye doing?
It hurts. I've just been icing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm gonna grab those nuggets and then I'll hit the road.
Okay. I love you and drive safe.
All right, love you too.
All right, bye. Anywho, no more talk of black eyes. Let's talk about something that I have wanted to dive into on the podcast because here's the thing. I have been running my business, Chanel and Lee, for 6 years now. Before that, I worked in marketing communication spaces, but before that, I also owned a photography brand. It was in 2012 when I started the business and ran it until 2016 when I got divorced. And I would say it was pretty successful for a time. It was my full-time job. And then when I was working at the nonprofit, the church, and in school, I also was running my photography business. In this amount of time between running my businesses, and seeing the back end of literally hundreds and hundreds of businesses through my work with consulting and Dubsado and all of the things, there are some hot takes that I want to talk about because I see these hot takes thrown around in the online space. I see them thrown around business blogs and talked about on podcasts. And people have some very concrete thoughts about running a business, starting a brand that I just don't agree with. And I want to talk about them here and just myth bust a couple of things about running a business. So if you are someone who is currently running a business, if you are someone who wants to start a business or a brand, if you are an entrepreneur, you may have heard these hot takes before or heard these myths in the business marketing sphere, space, online, whatever it might be. And I just think they're wrong. And I want to tell you why. And I have a list of about 10 different things So let's go ahead and get right into it. Business hot takes, ironically serious edition. Hot take number one. You don't need a website to launch. Now, listen, all the branding and web designers who listen to this podcast are going to come for me. Do not come for my throat. Here is the thing. You do not need a website to start something, to sell a service, to be hired. Is it beneficial? Abso-fucking-lutely. Having a website is going to be a necessity down the line, but I do not believe it's something you need to get started. In fact, I did not have a website for my virtual assistant business until about 6 months in, when I already had almost 10 clients under my belt. I definitely had a PDF type guide that I was using to sell my services, but more than a website, I was using my voice, my network, and just real, honest information to book these people. If you've heard my origin story, I got my first client from a Facebook group. Again, no website, no testimonials, no clients, nothing. So many people I know and I talk to online want to start a business, but they're so hung up on the website that they just don't start. And here's the thing, starting and just putting it out there is the best thing you can do for that idea that you're thinking about. You don't need a website. You don't need a fancy landing page. You don't need to go spend $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 on a website when you have social media, when you can create a single landing page with like a link in bio or a milkshake. There's so many apps out there where you can create just a very basic portfolio or a page that has links on it. Even something like Flowdesk, they have a landing page where you can plug in information and a link to sign up and a contact form. You don't need all the bells and whistles. You might eventually, or if you are an established business owner, entrepreneur who's launching something new, and you do want to set the foundation right off the bat and really give it authority and real brand presence and have that level of brand authority right out of the gate, yes, a website for sure. But do you need one to get started? Absolutely not. Quit letting websites and other digital investments hold you back from starting the business. Just start the business. Do it later. You can always get a website later. You can always add later. If you do want to launch with a website, also, it doesn't have to be this 20-page deep dive with all this content where you have to go hire someone who it takes them 2-3 months to create it. You can literally go get a Squarespace, pop in a free template with 2 pages, a landing home page, and a contact me page, and launch that thing and add to it later. You don't need to come right out of the gate with this super detailed, built out website. Now, if you have the funds to do it, great. If you don't, that's fine. And honestly, for anyone listening who is starting something new and you don't already have all of the experience under your belt, a lot of times you're going to hire someone to build this website, and all of the content that you need on the site, it's not even relevant yet, because chances are you don't really even know what you're going to be selling. You might be launching a beta offer, but you don't know exactly how it's going to transform later. You might not have all of the details yet. And in fact, the details you do have might end up changing or flexing or being refined as you actually book clients. So if you're trying to be scrappy, put up a landing page or have some really nice PDF on Canva. It does not matter. What matters is that you get it live and then you start selling. That's what matters. That also brings me into number 2. You don't need brand photos. Again, coming from someone who's a photographer, coming from someone who, AKA what I just talked about, I spend a lot of money on brand photos. I've gotten a lot of brand photos done. You don't need brand photos to start a brand. I see it talked about in the online space all the time, mostly by creatives, mostly by photographers, videographers, content creators, and branding and web designers. They're like, oh, you got to have brand photos. If you don't have brand photos, you're not legit. False. Totally false. Do you know how many free stock photo websites are out there? There are tons of bomb ass websites where you can go get free stock photos, or you can pay a very low fee to get even better stock photos that feel curated, they feel luxe, they feel editorial, unsplash pexels. There's even niche ones that have specific types of content depending on what your vibe is. You don't need a ton of brand photos, maybe a couple really good headshots of yourself or whatever you're selling if you're product based. Plug in stock photos for the rest of it. You can always hire a photographer later. Once again, be scrappy. Just launch. Go grab some photos, pop them in, and you can always change them later. In fact, nowadays with your iPhone, you can get such freaking good content in your own house or out in public and use that on your website without spending $2,000-$3,000 for a photographer. Once again, if you're launching something new and you don't have all the details defined yet, or you don't really quite know who you're trying to serve or what you want it to feel like, why would you go hire a photographer and spend all of this money and all of your resources for content that might not be what you need a month or two from now? I think a lot of times what's more important is that you have the right systems in place to sell the thing that you're trying to sell. And then you can always go hire the web designer, hire the copywriter, hire the photographer when you are really, really clear on what you're selling and who you're selling it to. Until you have those things really clarified, even your process, if you don't have those three things clarified yet, what you're selling, who you're selling it to, and how you're selling it, all of the other stuff isn't going to it's not even going to make sense yet. That stuff needs to be refined and polished to what you're actually selling. And any provider that you're reaching out to about website, copywriting, photo, and video, if they're telling you that you need to spend thousands of dollars and hire them before you even know those things, they're doing you a disservice. And I'm just going to say that plain and simple. Even from a systems perspective, I'm someone who literally sells strategy, client experience strategy. If someone comes to me and they don't even know what they're selling yet, I'm like, it might be a little too early for you to hire me, because if you don't know what you're selling, how can I help you outline it? I can't help you create a process for something that you haven't defined. So get clear on those things and then go invest in the business. My next hot take, you don't have to scale. The amount of times I hear that word scaling in the online business space makes me want to actually vomit. Not every business needs to scale. Not every online business owner needs to be worried about scaling. Let's think about your actual goals. Do you actually want to run a business that requires you to have a team and a full client load, and for you to have all of these different things in place for you to keep growing and growing and growing? What is your actual goal? Are you trying to be a millionaire? And not just in theory, but are you actually trying to run a business and get it to this specific place? Or are you trying to create a business that's sustainable and maintainable? Is there a specific income level you want to get to? But also, how do you actually want to work day to day? How do you want to operate? What kind of business do you want to operate? Not everyone wants to scale to the point where they have a 15-person team. Not every business owner wants to scale to $1 million, but actually have $100,000 in expenses or $100,000 in ad spend. We talk so much in the online space about scaling this, scaling that, 6-7 figures. We want to get to this. You want to be the CEO. It's okay if you don't want to do those things. It is absolutely okay to have a goal to run a business that can support your lifestyle, but also support the type of work lifestyle you want, not just financial, but the type of actual work that you want to do and how you want to lead your business, how you want to show up in your business. You don't have to scale your business to this crazy place like everyone makes it feel. And guess what? If you don't want to scale to that level, that's okay. There's literally nothing wrong with that. There's literally nothing wrong with not wanting to hit 7 figures or a 7-figure month. It's okay to have desires to run a small scale business. If that's what fits your lifestyle and your needs and where you're trying to go, that's fine. All the other stuff, it's just noise. It really is. Next one. You don't have to be an expert to start selling the service. I see this so much. People say, oh, I want to sell Dubsado services, but I don't know enough about it. I'm not an expert, so I can't sell it. Do you know how many people out there are making money off of services that they are not an expert in? And I'm not saying sell to people and promise an expert level of service or promise that you're going to be able to do this and that and then just literally not be able to do it. Don't be shitty. Don't sell something that you actually can't do. But if you're not an expert, that's okay. If you are someone who knows that you can figure it out, or you know that you know enough about this thing that you can make money off of it and you can sell it, but you may not be the expert in the space, that's all right. Here's the thing: every expert started as a beginner. Every coach you look up to, or provider, photographer, branding, web designer, consultant, agency owner, even someone like me, system specialist, Dubsado certified specialist, we all started as beginners. I actually heard the coolest story the other day. This girl was DMing me on Instagram. She wanted to join my program where I teach people how to sell Dubsado services, which, by the way, it's relaunching May. Mark your calendars. If you want to learn from me in a group setting, this might be your thing. Anyways, she sent me a message telling me that she wants to learn Dubsado. And what was awesome about it is she told me that she was able to sell a client, one of her VA clients, a Dubsado setup. And she told me she didn't really know much about it, and she sold it anyway. She was like, I don't even know where I got the confidence. And I'm over here like, yes, girl, that's what I'm talking about. Having the confidence to figure it out and to sell the thing that you know some things about it, but you may not be the expert. That's okay. As long as you are honest, as long as you are not telling someone, hey, I am the expert in this thing, hire me, and then you aren't. That's a very quick way to lose trust in who you are. And it's a very quick way to have some unhappy clients. But if you're someone who's starting out and you want to launch a service, launch it, learn about it, do some research, but you don't have to have 700 hours under your belt to make it official. You just don't. I launched a virtual assistant business after only a few clients. Was I an expert? I was good at some of the things I was doing, but I wasn't an expert. But I started to become the expert because I was confident that I could do it. I was confident that I could show up how I needed to. I was confident that if I didn't know something, Google was right there. I was 2 clicks away from Google University. If I needed to figure something out, I could figure it out. Also, I was transparent with clients when there was something I wasn't super comfortable in or wasn't 100% an expert in. I would say, hey, I'm not a complete expert in this, but I'm confident I can find the solution, or I'm confident I can help you XYZ. It's all about language. Are you confident enough to figure it out, or are you scared to do something because you don't think you're equipped enough? Very different camps to be in, but I'm a firm believer that you don't have to be an expert because there are people out there making shit tons of money doing things that they are not an expert in yet, and you're not. You're holding yourself back. Okay, our next hot take: you do not need to hire a coach. Listen, I understand everyone has their own journey, everyone has their own way of learning, everyone needs guidance in some way or another. But here's the thing: a lot of coaches are charging very high prices for things that you can find online. And the space is so different than what it was when I started 6 years ago, because education has boomed, and not just paid education, but free value, YouTube, blogs, courses, Instagram content. There is so much content out there for free, that you do not need to hire a business coach to figure out a lot of the things. Now, if you are struggling with specific mindset, if you really, really need accountability, or if there's a very, very specific skill you are trying to learn in an industry that you are not familiar with, by all means, a coach might be the right fit for you. Anything else, you can find it online. It's just about keeping yourself accountable to carve out the time to do the research, carve out the time to trial and error, carve out the time to get your little hiney online and find the answers you're looking for. Also, Chat GPT, you guys, it's 2025. The internet is literally at our fingertips and we can customize all of it. You don't know how to launch a product? Find a launch plan. You don't know what the best way to market an e-commerce item is? Do some Googling. You don't know how to set up an email marketing platform? Literally YouTube. There is so much information. Before you go hire a coach or invest thousands of dollars into a program or a customized experience, see if you can find it for yourself. I'm serious. There's so much online. And again, it's really just about keeping yourself accountable to actually put the time into doing it. Next up, You do not have to be on every social media platform to market your business. This is a hard one because, people really think you need to be on LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. I am in the camp that once you know where your people are, kind of back to our first conversation, when you know where your ideal clients are spending their time, park your little behind on two platforms and actually invest your time in those platforms, building your space and your presence on those platforms before you try to extend yourself to everything else. If you are a branding and web designer, yeah, TikTok and Instagram might be the thing for you. You might really want to invest your time on those two platforms. Maybe you're an executive coach. Maybe Instagram and LinkedIn are the two platforms that you need to invest your time in. Maybe you're a restaurant. Maybe Facebook and Instagram are going to be the spots for you because you serve an older demographic. Every platform is different. Every platform has a different demographic and audience that primarily uses it. Do a little bit of research. What type of platforms are your people on? And what type of content are they consuming? If you are someone who sells, I don't know, skincare products to middle-aged women, they might not be on TikTok. They might not. They might be on Facebook and Instagram. They might not be consuming short, 20-second reels. They might be reading blogs. They might be listening to podcasts, just as an example, right? So if you know who you're selling to and what kind of content they love, then start investing your time on those platforms. Build up your authority, build up a community and an audience. And then when you get to a place where, for example, like Instagram is my shit. I love Instagram. I enjoy it. My people are there. Yeah, I could probably get on TikTok. Yeah, I would probably benefit from it, but to be honest, it's also not what I want to be on. So think about that too, not just where your people are on, but where are you actually going to thrive? What kind of content do you actually like to create? If the thought of creating videos day in and day out makes your stomach turn, TikTok's probably not going to be the place for you. Maybe you're going to start writing articles on LinkedIn. Maybe you're going to start creating posts in a Facebook group. Maybe you're going to start a really, really good blog on Substack. There's so many different ways to connect with people online, and you just have to find what works best for them and what works best for you, but you don't need all of it. All right, next up, you should network with people who are not in your industry. Hear me out. Yes, you want to know people in your industry. It's good to learn from people who can teach you. It's good to have community over competition, as overused as that phrase is. It's good to know other people in the same space as you for so many different reasons, to learn from, to connect, to share clients. But the amount of inspiration and the amount of opportunity you can get when you step outside of your norm is insane. For example, I started attending a networking group called Texas Young Professionals. I joined as the director last October, and it is in no way my normal audience. For example, we are not showing up to these events with all of these online entrepreneurs and content creators and branding and web designers and photographers. It's a lot of banking and corporate. I definitely see other entrepreneurs, but they're not usually in the same space as me. It's such a challenging way to grow because you really have to learn how to share what you do and communicate outside of your normal industry terms. It also opens up opportunity for networking beyond the small space that you're probably in. And don't get me wrong, when you start in a new industry, like if you start a new online business, the space can feel small because you insert yourself only into the places that feel familiar. You're only going to follow a certain type of clientele. You're only going to follow, other people who are doing similar things to you, or maybe people who inspire you and therefore are very similar in terms of the industry. But when you start stepping outside of that, you start to see things differently, and you see that there are worlds outside of your industry, and you see that you really never know who could connect you with somebody, and having your network grow beyond just your circle is fantastic. So join a local chamber, find a networking group in your city if you're online. If you're more of a corporate girly, get on Instagram and start connecting with people who may not be your normal network. It's so interesting what you can find. And I really truly believe it stretches you as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, or as someone in a career in a field when you are challenged to connect and communicate outside of the normal industry terms. It's really, really interesting how you begin to kind of grow and the skills that you're able to work on from a communication perspective when you're not just speaking your lingo 24/7. Next up, you should not charge what you're worth. This is going to be a tough one. I get it. Okay. I get it. You started a business, you're selling something, a product, a service, and you know you're worth something. You may have an education, you may have spent a lot of time in this thing or this industry, you may have put a lot of your resources into starting the business or creating the product, you may have invested a lot of money or time or heartache or whatever it might be into creating your business. It doesn't matter. Charging what you're worth is so stupid because I get, yes, we're all worth more than dollars on a screen, okay? Charging what you're worth makes no sense because we're in sales. We are in a market. And you have to price yourself according to the market. We need to be looking at other people in the industry, other people who might be your competition. You need to look at your actual expertise, how much time you've been doing it, what is your authority level, what have you actually invested, and what is your cost of business. Definitely plays into an effect. Cost of business for sure. But I see so many businesses make the mistake of feeling like they should charge what they're worth, and then they lose confidence when they're not booking because they have overpriced themselves. Or in the opposite, people undercharge because they are scared. And maybe it's not because they're not charging their worth, or psychologically they really are and they don't think they're really worth that much because they might be new or they haven't really spent a lot of time doing that thing. They haven't really booked a lot of clients. They haven't really sold that many services or items. So they're charging what they really think they are worth. But when you underprice yourself, you are falling into the same trap because people are saying, oh, that's so cheap. Why is it so cheap? Have you ever seen something like try to buy a service or you buy something from a store and it's so cheap compared to everything else? And your red flags are like, wait a second. There's a reason why that thing is so cheap. People do pay for value. That's not to say they always will pay higher end, but there is a market for every price point. You just have to figure out what that price point average is from the low to the high. So, if you are trying to price yourself, whether it's products or offers, do some research. Get ChatGPT to help you pull up market research on what people are spending, how they're pricing it, what kind of deliverables they're getting. Also, if you're location based, if you're a brick and mortar or you're selling a service, for example, a wedding photographer, look at your area. Pricing is going to be different if you're having a wedding in California versus Texas. The economy is different. People make different types of money, different amounts of money, I should say. You have to do your research instead of just pulling a number out of your ass because you think that's what you're worth, period. You should not wait until you're profitable to invest. Now, I know this is a little bit backwards from what I was saying earlier about website and photos and all of this stuff. But if you do have a really established idea, or let's say you're a business owner who's already been in business, you're an entrepreneur and you're launching something new and you already have an audience or you already have the network to launch something, I don't think you need to wait to invest when you're profitable. For example, I am launching 2 new businesses, more to come on those, and I know they're going to be profitable. I know it. Are they going to be profitable right away? I don't know. Are they going to make money tomorrow? I don't know. However, I am spending money. I'm putting money into these businesses because I know they will be profitable because I'm confident in them. And so I don't think you need to necessarily wait to invest. If you're confident in the thing and you have the right resources and you're making the right investments, do it. Yes, you can be scrappy, especially for my new entrepreneurs who are not seasoned yet, or my people who are starting something really new. yeah, you want to be a little scrappy at first. You want to save some of your coins, especially if you're in a position in life where you need that. Maybe you have a family and there's a lot more risk, then yeah, be scrappy. But if you have the ability to put the money into the business, do it. Do it. It will speed up that process a little bit. Launching with a website and all of the right pieces in place, of course, are going to speed up the growth process than if you were to be scrappy and launch without them. Can you do either or? Absolutely. Can you be successful with either option? Of course. But will it speed it up if you make the right investments from the beginning? 1,000%. This is why some people, when they book me for Dubsado, they may only have a few clients, or they may be starting this business. They may be in their first year, first 6 months, and they're paying me nearly $4,000 to set something up because they are so confident in the business and they know this investment is going to speed up the profit. So if you know the profit is there, put those investments into place to move quicker to the profit. 2 more, and then we'll wrap this episode up. You don't need to niche down. Okay. Again, this is such a case by case. It depends on what you're selling, where you're located, what you're trying to do, what kind of goals you're trying to achieve in the business, but you don't always need to niche. I have seen businesses that are broad, they serve a lot of different type of people, they don't niche and they're very successful. I've also seen businesses who started very broad and they weren't successful, and until they niche down to a very specific type of service or a very specific type of client, then they saw this massive growth with an influx of clients because they started getting specific on what they do. I don't think you need to niche. Can it be beneficial? Absolutely. What I think is more important is that you pinpoint the exact type of transformation that you provide your clients, and not just your basic, for example, I'm a photographer and I document candid moments. Like, that's what every photographer does. That's what I can do on an iPhone. That's what my grandmother does on her phone, documenting candid moments. Like, get more specific. You're a branding and web designer. I create websites that attract your dream clients. Okay, great. That's every website. Get more specific. What are the pain points you solve? For example, let's say you are a branding and website designer. Yeah, you're going to help people attract their dream clients, but maybe you are unique because you can turn around a website much faster than your competitors. Maybe you specialize in websites in a week or websites in a day. Now, all of a sudden, you've just hit a pain point. Someone's starting a business, they need a website today. They're scaling so fast, they need a website today. Instead of waiting 2 months, 3 months for a website, they can have a website in a week. That is what you need to be focusing on, not just the niche. In hindsight, you might be someone who you only work with wellness brands and that is your specialty. You're able to create brands and websites that speak to that particular audience. So, getting really clear on it's not necessarily the niche, it's the pain point of the people you're trying to target. That can really help you get more specific in how you communicate and how you sell, so you can target the right people because of the transformation they're looking for or the pain points they're trying to solve. And then you can figure out, do I need to go further and niche that down even more, or can I kind of sit in this general broad arena? In my business, I help people set up their backend systems. I help them create 5-star client experiences, but I haven't niched to a specific industry. I've worked with over 45 different industries and hundreds of businesses from all different types of backgrounds who sell all different types of things, but the pain points are all there. They're tired of admin work. They're bogged down because they don't have systems in place. They keep missing things, or their clients are not paying their invoices on time. They're retyping the same email. They're feeling unorganized. Those are the pain points I'm speaking to. It doesn't matter where you fall in a business perspective, but if that's your pain point, I can help you solve it. Whereas there are some Dubsado specialists who only work with photographers because that is their specialty. So you don't have to niche down. You just have to get clear on who you're serving and what they actually need. And last hot take for you today, you do not need to automate everything. I know, coming from the automation queen herself, you don't need to automate everything. I think automation is so specific to who you are, what you're doing, what you're selling, and your needs, right? If you're a business owner and your main pain point right now is booking clients because it takes you 2 days to build a proposal, Let's automate that. That doesn't mean we need to go automate every single email and every single touch point after they book. And then we need to automate your inbox and then your email list and then your Instagram and then have this automation and that Zapier. And it's overwhelming. One, it's overwhelming to set up. If you're going to hire out, it's expensive. And it's also just not necessary. What I suggest is figuring out what pieces of your operations, whether it's with clients or internally with your team, and this goes for any type of business, what pieces of the business can you automate? What things do not require your personal touch? Then we can start there. We can start automating the things that don't require customization, don't require a personal touch, and that can be set up in a way that's going to support you, your goals, your business. We also want to look at the tasks that are eating up the most amount of time and energy. You hate emailing, you want to be working with the clients. Let's automate some of that so you're not doing the thing that actually eats up all of your creativity. You realize, oh, I actually really love doing this or doing that, and I don't mind doing it. We don't need to automate something that you enjoy. Automation is something that we can use in business to help us, but it is not the end goal. It is not the end goal to automate every single point of your business. You have to figure out, what do I actually need to automate? What do I need to hand off? What things are actually taking up my time? And what things can I automate without losing the personal touch or the luxury mark in the business? And if you don't know, I can help you figure that out because it's exactly what I do. Hopefully, those hot takes gave you some clarity, gave you some inspiration to just do the damn thing. I think the online space, especially with sales and marketing and online businesses and entrepreneurs, we just talk so much. And at the end of the day, it's also dependent on who you are and what you're doing, what you're selling, who you're speaking to, how you want to operate. Even with what I'm telling you right now, take everything with a grain of salt, figure it out for yourself. And like I said, if there's anything I can tell you to do that I think you absolutely should do as a business owner, get crystal fucking clear on what you're offering, how you're offering it, and who you're offering it to. Once you have those three things, everything else will have an answer. You can find an answer to every other thing when you have those three things figured out. And with that, and my beautiful shiner on my face, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode. This might be the shortest episode I've ever done. Maybe not, but I wanted to just give you guys some real clear, actionable tips today. I'm going to go ice my face and take an Advil and probably train jiu-jitsu tomorrow. As always, if you have loved this episode, best way to support Ironically Serious is to share it with a friend. Wherever you're listening, go ahead and just share it with a friend, copy that link. If you are listening on Spotify or Apple, please leave a 5-star review. Those reviews really do help us show up in the podcast apps. And if you are someone who would like to be a guest on the podcast, or maybe you have someone who you think would be a great guest, you can go to ironicallyserious.com, submit a guest or an SOS. Or if you just click on the description below, if you have a burning question, business related, parenting, motherhood, anything at all under the sun, go ahead and submit an SOS. I answer them live on the podcast. And as always, I will see you guys right here next Friday on Ironically Serious. Bye.